Hey everybody, I'm Dave with Grow in the Home Garden. Today we are going to be talking about garlic and getting it in the garden for fall planting. Fall is the best time of the year to put in your garlic, and there's just a few simple steps. This is one of the easiest things that you can grow. And what I love about it is not only does it taste great and it's good, useful in the kitchen for all sorts of things, but the deer are not really fond of this kind of stuff. And so you can plant this around other plants to give a little bit of deer resistance, rabbit resistance. Things that don't like garlic may not bother plants that are around them, so you can use it for companion planting. So garlic is a great plant to use in the garden for a lot of different reasons. Now there's two main types of garlic. There's a hard neck and a soft neck. The hard neck varieties tend to have a little bit more robust flavor to them, but they have a shorter shelf life. Soft neck are usually better for this type of area. We're in a zone 7. They're a little bit longer of a shelf life, probably up to 12 months at the most, somewhere in that range. But by that time, you're ready to plant them in the garden next fall. So this here is a garlic that I just took off of our shelf in the pantry that we actually got from a grocery store. And I have done this before with grocery garlic, and it comes out fine. There's no problem whatsoever with it that I've run into. All you have to do is break up these clumps into the individual cloves, and we'll plant those. We'll do that in a little bit. The other type of garlic I'm going to be planting is Inchelium Garlic, which is this one right here, and it was purchased from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds. So these are the raised beds that I put together the other day. I just used leftover lumber that we had from previous projects. These were 4-foot long pieces by 6-inch, and all I did was screw them end to end. Easiest kind of raised beds that you can put together in a lot of cases like this. And you can see here that we've got a lot of wood chips down. And the wood chips are just going to be the base layer of these raised beds that are going to kind of create some good drainage, because garlic does not like to be in really soggy soil. So you want to create a good base of drainage. And this, in some ways, is a bit of a filler material for us. We've got cardboard down underneath it. Let me show you. See, I'll just move this apart. And when we get to the bottom, we've got some cardboard, which is still wet and moist from the other day. And then on top of it, we've got wood chips that are covering everything else up. So one of the concerns you're going to have when you are dealing with wood chips in the garden is that you want them to break down properly. And wood chips will use up a lot of nitrogen out of whatever is around them, the soil that's around them, in order to complete those processes. So we're going to add some extra fertilizer to this layer before we put anything else on top of it. And then on top of that, we're going to use a regular garden blend soil that we got at a local bulk supplier, and we're going to put that down on top, and that layer is where we're actually going to plant the garlic bulbs. And so here is the bulk mix that we purchased to use in these raised beds. It's a combination of bark fines, manure, sand, just a blend of different things. Now this is a great tip. Over the years, if you happen to end up getting some of these huge tree containers that trees come in, obviously they've got some holes in them, but they make excellent little totes that you can carry around the yard. I'm using these right now for mulch and stuff, but I'm going to use them for this soil mix. But I've got 4 of them right here. I've got a few others, but basically they fit pretty well into our little garden cart right here, and I can get about 4 or 5 of them into this cart to move around to different areas of the yard. And the individual tubs are easier to move around than, say, using a wheelbarrow, because sometimes you can just pick those up and move them around. They're lighter, and you can get a lot of material moved in a very short period of time. Now, I don't know much about this particular brand of fertilizer. It's something new I saw on the shelves today, but what I was looking at was here. That's the NPK rating here on it for the fertilizer. The first number is your nitrogen. And it was a lot higher than what I normally get in like an Espoma or a Job's Organic. So I thought this would make a better decision, better choice here for that layer of doing the wood chips. So all I'm going to do is sprinkle a lot of this into the raised beds. Try to get an even coating. So you can take a look at this here. It says on the package that 1% is soluble in water, the other 6% of nitrogen is not, but it will break down over time, which is what we want. We don't want it to go down right away. We want to have kind of a gradual breakdown of it. A little visitor over there. Before we actually put anything down here as far as soil goes, we are going to hose it down real well to let the fertilizer start to mix in with the wood chips here and get that process started. And then all we have to do is take our buckets here of soil and put them into the bins over here, these raised beds, and then we'll be able to start doing some planting. So here you can see I've got the 2 raised beds filled up. Next step, we're going to get the garlic and we're going to break it up into its individual little cloves and get them ready for planting. We're going to do one raised bed with the grocery store garlic and the other raised bed with the Inchelium garlic, and we'll see how they do kind of as a little comparison. They will not be ready until probably early summer of next year, sometime during the summer, to actually harvest the garlic. All right, now one of the first things you got to do, of course, is to break apart the garlic cloves. So just kind of peel everything apart, and we're going to be looking for the best, fattest looking cloves as possible. So we're just going to take all this off, let the little bit of paper go wherever it wants to go. Now sometimes, especially with grocery store garlic, you're going to have stuff that doesn't look so good. This you just want to throw away. So what you're looking for in a clump of garlic is something that's firm when you squeeze on it a little bit. You don't want something that's all dried up and shriveled. You want something that's got kind of a good form and good size. Like this one right here is pretty decent. Now you can plant some of the smaller ones, some of the thinner ones like this one, and they'll be fine eventually, but they may not create as big of a garlic head as you're looking for. These smaller ones though, I mean, it might still be good for you to produce a few more pieces of garlic for your garden and from your vegetable garden. But anyway, this is kind of what you're looking for. There's 2 ends to it. This end would be the bottom end that you plant. This end would be the top over here, so the pointy end goes up. The bottom end is where the roots will eventually come out from. Actually, planting garlic could not be simpler. You can do a couple of different things. One idea is to make kind of a trench, and then you plant into that little trench your garlic cloves, push them in just a little bit, and put them about 6 inches apart, and then you can come back and cover up that trench all at once. As a general guideline, you probably want to bury these into the ground just a little bit beyond the tip so that they maybe have, probably 1/2 inch to 1 inch above the soil surface. And there we go. What is helpful when you do the trenches, if you make all your trenches right off the bat, you can space your rows out very nice and evenly. So once we have both beds planted, we'll go through and give them a nice watering and just kind of let them do their thing. We'll just make sure that the beds stay wet and dry spells. And what's really nice about it is once you get these planted and in the ground, this time of year, it pretty much takes care of itself because you usually start getting some rain. This one 4-foot by 4-foot raised bed, I probably put somewhere between 30 and 40 cloves of garlic in. That's going to be a lot of garlic next spring. So next up are the Inchelium bulbs, and the bulbs are much bigger than the grocery store garlic. The individual cloves also a lot larger. So we will probably have fewer plants that we can get out of this, but it should be a really nice, tasty variety to grow. All right, so I've got one of these Incheliums broken apart. There are 23 cloves in that one. Baker Creek sent me 4 bulbs like that broke into 23. So theoretically, I could have somewhere around 80 to 90, maybe a few more here and there, of garlic cloves that will eventually become bulbs for me next year. Some of these Inchelium garlic cloves look really good, really nice and large, nice and firm, and they should do really well here in the garden. And the last step is to give them a nice and thorough watering so that they can start their growing process. So garlic is one of the easiest things that you can plant in the garden. They grow very well in raised beds like we're doing here, but you can also grow them in pots. You can grow them directly in the soil. All those methods work very well for garlic. I just do them here in the raised beds because it allows me to help control the soil, and I can raise it up a little bit because you never know. In this Tennessee soil, sometimes you're going to hit rocks, sometimes it's clay. You just never know what's there. So raised beds tend to be a really good option. So whether you're planting your garlic for your own culinary enjoyment next year, or you're planting it to ward off the vampires here in October, now is a great time to plant your garlic. So I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. Appreciate you watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.